Individual income tax rates will likely go down again for Kentuckians, but it won't happen until the beginning of 2026. Senate Budget Chairman Chris McDaniel says the state has met the conditions to trigger lowering the tax another 0.5%, meaning it can go down from 4% to 3.5%. The cut is possible because of the state's reserve fund growing to more than $5 billion. Lawmakers will have to approve the cut in the 2025 general session. Representative Maddox, we went through this before, I believe, not this past session, but in the 23 session, which got us to the current income tax rate we're at now. Whenever we go through this again in 2025, we'll have to drop another bill. Generally, is this expected to be a non-controversial thing to go through?
Well, I think that it's welcome news for a lot of Kentuckians because, you know, last year they were not able to lower the income tax because they did not meet those benchmarks. And also last year, Speaker Osborne had indicated that there was somewhat diminished political appetite to continue broadening the service taxes, which was going to put us in a position where we were not going to really be able to lower it beyond 3% if we did make it there. So I am very enthusiastic about continuing to lower that until we have eliminated the income tax altogether.
How do Democrats see it, Representative Brown? This has been an issue that's been debated every time it's come up.
I can't speak for all Democrats, but I can speak for me, is that I think we have to understand, and people in Kentucky have to understand, that you have to pay for goods and services in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. If you lower it on one side, it has to raise on the other side. The consumption tax is sales tax or being paid have been raised on goods, purchasing of goods and services. So people have to understand that. It's like, I'm going to give you something over here, but I'm going to take something over here. And we have to understand that there's a give and take always in that. The government has to pay for services, and that is absolutely true.
I agree, and I would add that you are correct. As we are lowering the income tax, on the other hand, the legislature continues to pass new service taxes. It was 18 at one point and then 36 new service taxes, and people are not happy about knowing that they're going to have to pay those additional taxes. What we should be talking about is spending cuts, because in order to meet those thresholds, we need to cut services. And you probably don't agree with that aspect of what I'm saying, but again, no one wants to pay more taxes. We need to lower the tax burden on hardworking Kentuckians, because that ultimately will be the way that we create economic growth and allow our Kentuckians to flourish.
It's a question, I think, that goes back to Solomon. It's the Solomon question, is that how do you split the baby? How do you make everybody happy and you do the things that are necessary? Because our job is to make sure that goods and services are furnished or provided for the citizens of the Commonwealth. How do we do that?
Absolutely, and I think that it comes down to defining the appropriate role of government and being in a situation of having to prioritize needs versus wants. And if we're wanting to lower those taxes, we no longer have the luxury of considering the wants. Now, what are the appropriate roles of government? You know, I think that when we're talking about anything related to transportation and infrastructure and education, those are the appropriate role of government. But there are other aspects that we need to cut spending so we can continue to meet those thresholds without having to raise taxes in other areas of the tax code.
I think our citizens and taxpayers are like spoiled babies. When they're hungry and they want the bottle, they want the bottle. And when taxpayers want cuts, when taxpayers want services, they want them. And it puts pressure on us as legislators. And there are people that ask, what is it that we're doing? Why are we doing that? We are trying to react to the needs and wants and requests of the citizens of the Commonwealth.
We got a little less than a minute left here. Is the amount that is being cut, is that a meaningful impact that'll be going in the additional amount that'll be in folks' paycheck?
I think ultimately it is it's one of those things that has been tried around the country. I'm reminded of what happened in Kansas. Governor Brownback reduced the state income tax, and the state almost went bankrupt. I think there are examples of what can happen in other parts of the country that we ignore at our peril.
Any tax cut that is truly a tax cut has to be revenue negative, and it has to include spending cuts, or else you're just moving the tax around somewhere else in the tax code, and we want to make it easier for hardworking Kentuckians to put food on the table for their families.
All right. Thank you both so much for your insight. We'll be right back with Point of Order.